Welcome everyone to our lunchtime educational webinar on automated road design for an ever-changing world. I'm Peter Coombs and I'm delighted to introduce you to the main presenter today, and that's my colleague Daniel Darcy. Daniel is a senior account manager here at XP Solutions and our XPSITE3D product champion. For those new to our webinars, you'll notice there's a little pop-up screen where you can post messages and questions for us, and what we will endeavour to do is cover those questions during the presentation today. For those that we can't answer, we'll send out a frequently asked question sheet at the end of the presentation. We will be making a recording of it as well, so we will send the link out and you can revisit and replay to your heart's content later. So today we're going to look at XPSITE3D. And what we've done, we've developed XPSITE3D to address the pain that's being felt by highways engineers that are feeding back to us globally, and to help you to become more efficient and more effective on highway schemes. The time lost spent creating junctions, roundabouts, and most importantly, I suppose, the constant editing and changes that take place. This is where XPSITE3D will really come in and be a benefit to you. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Dan, who's going to run through a detailed demonstration covering all of these listed points in the agenda for you today. Dan, over
Brilliant.
to you.
Thank you very much, Peter. So, hi, afternoon, everybody. My name is Dan, as Pete said. So, what we're going to enlighten you today is an incredible advancement in the world of road design. I mean, we've come great leaps since the days of simply laying piano wire, but still we have to think, can the modern approach of using computers to aid the design process be improved? Well, the simple answer is yes, of course. But let's not simply look at adding more features and more buttons and more functionality. The greatest advancement of what we're going to show you today is quite the opposite. Why not create a tool that is so easy to use, it requires little training, yet still allows you to design complex roads, junctions, roundabouts in the quickest, most efficient way possible? What about a design tool that allows you to change your design as quickly as you change your mind? And so that's what our developers did. Rather than focus on the problem of how to program software to aid road design, we took a giant step back and looked at the nature of the design process. Is it you have an idea, you develop, you construct? In my opinion, it's a wonderfully organic process of iteration and development. And it was clear that a tool that could drain the viscosity from this design process and complement a more natural design process, and a tool that could react to changes as quickly as possible, was the key to a success of the product we're going to show you today, XPSITE3D. And then with constant feedback from engineers, civil engineers, it was understood that all the whys and wherefores of good, adherent road design, which we then turned into clever algorithms that highly automated the whole road, roundabout, and junction design process. So, without further ado, let's open it up. So this is the screen of XPSITE3D. Right, I first want to explain the core benefit of Site3D is how quickly you'll learn the software. And to reduce learning time, Site3D will only present tools and information to you that are relevant based on common sense. So if we look at the interface now, we don't yet have any roads to design on, and that's why all the tools are grayed out. One tool we do have available to us is the Open tool and this warning design alert tool. Now that's very important because by default, if we go in there, that's how we set Site3D up and that's how we design to road standards. Anything we design that veers off those standards, Site3D is going to simply warn us in real time so we can make sure we haven't missed a trick and cause some nasty errors or surprises down the line. We can then open that up. Right now we can change the standards if we're working in any different country or with different standards, but by default, it's the highway standards, for design manual for roads and bridges. Right, so let's just open up some 2D data. So I'm going to open up a file. Now, a lot of you will have a 2D survey that you'll then spend quite a lot of time telling and programming software how to interpret that as a 3D surface. So you'll have a 2D file with spot levels, and you have to instruct software which level is associated to which crosshair here. But I just want to show you how quick and how fast Site3D is at how quick XPSITE3D is to convert this into 3D. So I'm going to hit the Convert Model button here. And one key thing to mention with any tool, Site3D is always going to give you a preview of what you're expected to happen. So you're never going to, it's never going to do something without you being in full control. So let's hit Convert now and just watch how quickly we're going to convert this into valuable 3D information. So you can see in the 3D view here, that was mind-blowingly quick. And we can also look into this 3D view here is instantly brought this up to us, our attention. We can right-click, vertically exaggerate it. Potentially we may need to iron out any issues. We can exaggerate areas of concern just to make sure we've got the right information at the right time. And this is a live document. Any changes we make in the plan view are going to be instantly brought to us in the 3D view. I want to talk to you a little bit about conceptual design. Now, a lot of us have to put an awful lot more work than we ever had to into a pre-application to send before we've even gone into the detailed phase. So let's show you how you can benefit from how fast XPSITE3D is and create a very conceptual, let's just lay down some roads. So I'm going to get rid of this. More often than not, we'll be working with 3D data. So I'm going to open up a 3D file, a 3D DXF. Let's open that. So here's our 3D DXF. Let's just show you that in the 3D window that's brought that up for us. I'm going to leave that there and just every now and then pay attention to what's going on in here and just try and see how everything I'm doing in the plan view is being associated in the 3D view. Right. So if we look on the toolbar, now we have a lot more options available to us because we've got data to design on. We've got a surface. I'm going to take you through how everything works in Site3D. So we've got roads, we can add a footpath, everything else is grayed out. There's no point designing a roundabout because we don't have any roads to design with. So all of these just help reduce that learning curve or being confused with a messy, overpopulated interface. But right now we can also add in drainage, houses, at any point you can take a section through your view to see what information you can pull from that. And we're going to show you later some earthwork tools. But first of all, I'm going to show you the basis of how you work with Site3D. When we talk about intuitive and reducing that learning curve, it's all about how quickly can we get our users to be familiarized with Site3D. Well, how we do it is once you've learned these few Centerline commands, you'll see them repeated in every other tool you use. So instantly, once you've learnt these, the next tool you use, you're already familiar with them. There's no relearning. So I'm going to just grab this Centerline tool. We're going to just put a conceptual road down, look at the 3D as well. Also, I'm going to zoom in here. You can see as I pull out this Centerline, it's already giving us live, valuable information we can use, such as the meterage. Let's just place the road. Now, this is conceptual, as I said, but at any point in Site3D, it might seem what I'm doing is if I've got the freedom a sculptor has when working with clay, but at any point I can right-click, and if we have the information, we might want to add the coordinate. So let's right-click and hit Finish. That's our Centerline. We can also, a huge benefit of Site3D is that you don't need to do anything in any particular order. The interface is laid out in a logical manner, but we're not forced down any route. So we can have the freedom to develop and iterate and design and to do what we love, which is good engineering. So let's show that by just adding in another point. And we can also use the arc tool to soften that up a bit. We can also right click, as I said, and enter a radius. We can, put more specific information in if we have it available to us. But I'm just going to go ahead and put a radius on these two. So we've got our Centerline. Let's just throw in a road. So hit the channel tool. This will add your footpaths, curbs, and the channel, and the road, of course. Right, so this information is all to do with the road and what's underneath the road as well. As with anything in XPSITE3D, it's giving you live feedback of what you're looking to expect. So here we've got a representation of what the cross-section is. We can change anything in here. We can, we don't have to set with the default. But let's just show you how we can manually edit. Let's look at the crossfall. We don't have to mirror left and right. If we put minus 1 in 40, you can see on this update, hopefully everyone can see there that that's dropping. Maybe you want to do that for a particular kind of drainage system. Right, let's untick that, go with the default, duplicate right and left, hit OK, and straight away we have our road. Look on the 3D as well, we have that laid across the surface. Now, at the start, I talked about design alerts. If we zoom into here, we've already got a design alert. XPSITE3D is telling us that chances are we're not using best design road practice. You might not want such an extreme curve. As I said, you don't need to do anything in a particular order. You can go in and simply edit. Again, we talk about being intuitive a lot, and that's because XPSITE3D is making kind of common sense decisions for us. So let's exemplify that by adding in another centerline, and let's put it somewhere close to the road and hit finish. Just add a radius on there. Let's see what happens when we go and just use standard defaults, add another road. Look what's happened. It's assumed based on common sense that if you've got one road going to another, run centerline into another, you're going to want a junction. It's giving us a live feedback of that as well. And you can, but it's not actually done anything. So it's not going to do things without your permission. It's our engineering judgment we're using here, not the software's. So let's add in a random radius. Let's go wild here and add in a 20-meter radius and go ahead and create the junction. So although we've created what looks very simple geometry here, XPSITE3D at the same time is creating a hugely valuable wealth of information beneath this that has everything we need, such as cut and fill. It has all the information you can then extract out of that to go and build it. So although we're looking at conceptual, you can use the information generated from this to go and construct the road.
Dan, sorry to interrupt, but there's a question that's coming from Paul. He's saying, wow, is XPSITE3D really retriangulating when when you're sort of creating the junctions, or
absolutely.
Sort of move things around?
I'll show you the triangulation. We don't usually show it because we find it's a means to an end. You may have had to use triangulation in the past to build your road, but let's just right click and show you what it's doing behind the scenes. So if I go and find the triangulated road, it's doing all of that for us. And I'll just show you using this grab tool at any point. The iteration is a huge part of design, and just see how quick it's doing that automatically for us. So we can move things, it's recalculating at any point. So it's doing all of that for us basically. Okay?
Great. Thanks, Dan.
Fantastic. Okay, so that's very conceptual. We just laid the road down. We were just pushing, pulling, but let's move on to a bit more detailed. We, more often than not, will be graced with a layout, an architect's layout. So we can go ahead and delete this road. And a good way to actually accelerate the design process, rather than recreating information that's already out there, we can reuse information we already have. So the architect has spent a lot of time creating the layout. Let's harvest that. Let's use it to speed up the design process. So we can import a bunch of files.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just going to say that thanks for the questions, folks. We've got Dave and Ian have both posted something. I think it's a good time to actually flag this one up for you. When you import information, you've brought in like a CAD drawing right now, but one of the guys here is saying, what other data sources could you read in? For example, he doesn't have a CAD drawing. Is it conceptual design? But is it just got like LiDAR data?
Yeah.
And then Dave's saying, if they've got no data, like at all,
they have no data,
nothing at all, could they potentially go to something like Google Earth and extract something from Google Earth and use that?
So conceptual basis, you might not have data. So XPSITE3D will show you, you can import a whole plethora of different file formats, or what you'd commonly expect. So you usually won't have to worry about that. You can bring in AutoCAD data, Google Earth, LiDAR data. You have a whole raft of different formats. GIS data, drainage for MicroDrainage. That's very important. A lot of you will be doing the drainage as well, and Ordnance OS data as well. Hopefully that's answered that. So we'll go ahead and open our survey. You just think how quickly this will open for you. Let's open that. Just because some of these files can be quite garish. By default, Site3D will kind of create a ghosted image of what you're putting down. But for the sake of it, and it has all the layers as well that you'd expect. You can turn these on and off so that you've got the right information that's important to you at the right time. But I'm going to go and show the original colors just to help me extract the centerline from this road. If you don't already have the centerline, you can go and use the construction tools to create your own. We're fortunate enough we have one. So to speed up the design process further, let's go and add a centerline. Another important feature of XPSITE3D is how you interact with the information that is already available to you. So we can snap to different points. We can snap to vertices, and I'll show you that now. So let's snap to a vertice of this centerline. We can then snap to an arc. So we can go around and follow this centerline and just see how quickly. I'm just going to do this slowly at first. There we go, and it's giving us the meterage as well. And then that snap to the start of the entry of this roundabout. Right click. You can also put coordinates. Maybe you have more up-to-date information. Let's hit finish, and you can see, let's just put that ghosted image back on, how quickly we've added that centerline in using information that's already there. So let's do that again, show you how you can then again use information. You'll find this a lot in XPSITE3D, the pick option. This is again extracting information that you have available to you. We're going to hit the extent so we can snap to a line, and we can hit that and it will pick it up. And it's saying 3.6502. You probably know as an engineer that's 3.65.
6.35.
6.35. Let's.
Easy to edit.
Yes, very easy. So we'll turn that triangulation off. There's that. Get rid of that. So we put in a wider width, but any point we can go in there and edit. So let's just go back in. We can hit that. If we've made a mistake, we can just go and pick the original survey, the layout, and then we've got our road. I'm just going to open one where we've put some of the roads in. You've seen how quick and easy it is to do junctions. So we've done a few already. But I want to highlight now the intelligent decisions XPSITE3D is making for you that you can benefit from. So let's add in a road that will join up to this roundabout here. So hit that centerline. We'll pick again from the width. And look what's happened. XPSITE3D has offered us a roundabout. Now, I'll talk about roundabouts in a bit more detail later, but they are quite complex features to design. But by default, XPSITE3D will give us the kind of most ideal roundabout about what it knows about the roads coming into it and the land it's sitting on. So this is offering us a huge time saving by presenting this first start for us. We can go in and edit it. We can reduce the diameter. Let's try and match a bit more what the architect intended. We can then change the crossfall if you need to. Add an island. We'll increase this. Let's just increase it to 8. And perhaps you want heavy goods vehicles. You want to help their entry around that island. You can add in an apron. And that is identified here. Nothing's actually changed in the survey yet, in the model yet. This is all so you can see what's going on first, so you don't make any mistakes. And then you can hit OK. But also, it's identified another junction. Without us, we may have missed this, but Site3D will pick this up very quickly. So let's add in the radiuses, and we can see a live update. We can pan around it, we can zoom, let's create that junction, and again, it's offered us another junction, which is further up the road. Let's create a junction. I'm going to show you the 3D view, just so you can see what's going on. So we zoom out. Now, I'd like you to just think for a second how long would this take you in your current design tool? And right there, in less than 2 minutes, I've created a roundabout with an entry and an exit. We've got our crown line on there as well. We've got 2 junctions added in. We've changed the radius going into them. And Site3D is also working out all the contour information as well. And I'll show you that later. That's a huge time saving. This is an incredibly powerful tool that you'll soon find out. And we do urge you to take out the free trial afterwards to see for yourself. I'm just going to put a bit more information on the roundabout. Let's add this extra road in quickly. Now we can go in there and widen that. Let's pick the information we have already available. So let's look a little bit about this roundabout. I can go and edit this, but I want to talk about deflection, and only because deflection's quite a fiddly thing to work out. It's quite simple, but with an ever-changing world, and that's the theme of our webinar, and how software can react to an ever-changing environment, it can take a while to work out these deflections, but you get live and valuable feedback from Site3D instantaneously. So the deflection is the straight line the driver has that he can accelerate, the amount of distance he can keep speeding up before he's forced to slow down and take an action. We can see these, by default, we've put in a minimum of 100 meters. So these are red. Let's show you how it notifies you when all's okay. So let's go in here. Easiest way to reduce that deflection is to simply increase the island diameter. Let's put 14. And when I come out of this, we can see the driver is forced to take a turn earlier on. Now you can tidy up the roundabout. You can go in here and very quickly just add in more specific information. Just put 12 on each of these. Let's hit OK. And you can go and tidy that up. What I wanted to do now is show you the crown line here. And this is all about safety. So we're going to talk a bit about safety. Let's show you the contours on this road, just to show you what Site3D is doing. So you can choose the interval of the contours. Let's do 0.025. Let's hit that. And it's giving us all the contour information. That is updated live. You can see it in the 3D view. And you can see that crown line here. Let's go into the 3D view and show you that crown line. How it's helping those drivers to hug on the inside of that corner as they enter and exit. Let's exaggerate that. You can see exactly that's automated. It will also remove dead areas, again to improve safety from gravel build-up, but it's removing those areas that won't be likely to be driven on. So there we go. Let's open up another file where the roads are a bit more complete. We've spent a bit more time on them. Let's open up here we go. So the architect clearly wants to add some more features. I want to show you how quickly it is to add detailed features onto this road. So you can see there is a lay-by here. I'm going to add and show you how to add a lay-by. There's different ways. You can simply widen the channel, or in this case, we're going to want the curve to drop back down, to grade the surface potentially for improved drainage.
Sorry, Dan, there's another question. Thanks for the questions, folks, by the way.
Yeah,
we will answer them all at the end. But rather than a little lay-by like that, Mark's got a situation where he's got some sort of car parking base. It's like
car park, okay.
Like a car park off to the side of the road.
So we can absolutely. We can do a car park. So if we, again, secondary channel tool we're using, we'll just add a new channel. We'll zoom into this. We'll pick the side of the road we want the channel to be added. And we've got a few options. We've got add parallel. We can simply widen the road, or we can miter. And then we can edit with the edit item. When you're finished with your changes, you can just hit the flag and you're good to go. So let's add a parallel. Now, again, we've got this pick information that you're already familiar with. You don't have to trying to understand what that means. You already understand that. So let's pick the start of the feature. Let's look at using the snap to tools to benefit from information already there. Let's pick the start of that and pick the end. And we can then pick the offset. And let's just offset it by Got 12 meters in there. It hasn't done anything yet. As I said before, it's not going to do anything without your permission. It's just showing you what's going to happen. Hit go. We can add a grade. It's going to be 1 in 40 and an upstand. We don't have to add that curb on there if we don't want to, but we've added it on there. I'm going to show you the contouring of this just to show you. Let's put 0.025. Hit OK. And just see how quickly, I mean, that was lightning fast to add quite a simple feature, but let's try and match now what the architect intended. But thank you very much for the question. It was a good point. It also highlights that at any point, there's no order. We can hit delete and just delete that feature. It's gone. We don't have to worry about it. It's not going to affect any changes. It hasn't reduced the integrity of the data of the model. Everything's all tickety-boo. So let's add in a second channel. Let's hit the widening. We've got the same tools already. We've got a few more options because we can do a lot more with this tool. Let's click the start of where we want the widening, the finish of where we want the widening, and then how far we want that to offset. All the time we're picking from information that's already there, and it showed you that orange line. Let's go back to the end of that, add another widening or narrowing, same term. Let's bring that back down and hit OK. There you go. Now you may notice, for any of you who may be looking at the safety concerns of this road, we have a junction that's quite precariously placed by this lay-by. Now I'm going to do something a bit crazy. I'm not going to move the lay-by. I'm going to do, you probably wouldn't do this, but I just want to show you the power of XPSITE3D. What happens if we just move that whole road away from the lay-by? All the triangulation's done, all the contouring's updated. Let's look in 3D as well. Now this looks like Smurfland. So let's change this to a more Earth-like color. There we go. And if I zoom out, XPSITE3D is quite intelligent that at the start I said the centerlines, if they're somewhere close to the road, it will form a junction. Because we've moved away from that, they've disassociated themselves. So all you have to do is grab that and move it back to the centerline, and straight away it's offering us the road junction. And you can go and edit that to your heart's content. So there you go. And you can see that in the 3D. Everything's updating in real time. Okay, so I believe that's what we're going to show you on the features.
Yeah,
so let's.
Thanks, Simon. Sorry,
yeah.
Folks. I'm trying to concentrate on the messages here as well. Lots of good queries coming in. The one that I think is a good one to answer Simon's query is Superelevation. There's a
Superelevation.
Further up from the lay-by, there's a change in direction of the road, quite a steep bend, like 90-degree bend. Yeah, that one there. And the question is, can we add in Superelevation to a highway?
Absolutely, and that is very easy to do in XPSITE3D. Now let me just show you how. I'm just going to do this nice and quickly for you. So you can mess about with the vertical as much as you please. You use the vertical channel mode. We add a new channel transition. We hit the channel like the other tools. You already know this way of working. Don't need to learn again. Pick again, same tools. Pick the way we want the transition to start and the distance and where we want the transition to end. By how much we want it to change. Let's do from 1 in 40 to minus 40. Again, it's giving you an example of the change. And you'll see on the contours the change straight away. Let's bring that back down to reality. Take that back off. It's showing you it's flat again. We can pick the start of where we want it to start coming back down and the length of which we want that to happen. Let's just take that back off. And you'll see, let's go back into the 3D view. Let's exaggerate that for you. And you can see that's raised that up just so you don't have cars racing around here, hurtling off into the bushes. That'll help hug them to the side of the road. And whilst we're here, I'm going to very quickly show you this feature as well. I think that would be quite a nice, maybe you've got a larger vehicle to encourage them to turn around here. Let's go back into our secondary channel tools. Let's miter this and then show you adding a radius. Again, I really want you to think, anything I'm doing, just really try and think how long it would take you in the current way you work to achieve these functions. And it's not so much just adding features, it's editing as well. So when I add this in, you'll see how quick it is to pick where we want a feature to start, where we want it to end. Extract information is already there. It's giving us, highlighting us, and then you can change the grade. Let's bring it back down to the curb, and you can see straight away that has added that feature on. And it's dropped the footway down, but we don't have to do that if we don't want to. So, that is the road. That's one last thing on road safety, speed cushions. Now we're coming out of this junction, we're speeding up. Let's add in a speed cushion. You pick in the center line, the start of the ramp, the end of the ramp. You can edit more, you can add more specific information, and you've got a speed table straight away. Let's go back and show you how we extract valuable information from what we're creating. Let's add a simple section using the same tools we're already familiar with. Cut that through, the roundabout, and then show section. And you can see in here, we've got a very professionally presented print-ready document that gives us all the information we need about this. Now this is, XPSITE3D does this particularly well with long sections of roads. So if I just bring up the long section for this road here around this housing estate, if I click the long section, I've already gone in here and spent some time lifting it up and pushing it back, looking at the levels of this. But by default, I'm going to show you what XPSITE3D will do. So when you lay a road, I'm going to delete all the points I've added in. It will pick the highest and lowest point of that survey of the ground data and line the best fit through. But if I zoom out, let's just show you the information that's presented to you. You can go and print this off. This is high quality information, and if we zoom in, it's arranged everything. We don't have to spend hours fiddling about with arranging things and organizing. We go to the left of this. We can populate this with any information that's important to us. But most importantly, it's live. So if I go in and add in a point, just watch at the bottom there as everything updates within less than a few seconds. And I can add in an arc. As I said before, right click, and you've got options for more detail. Brilliant. So we've been working in an ideal situation. Everything's hunky-dory. We've been working on a new development. At some point, we're going to have to bring it back down to reality. The roads are floating in the air somewhat. Let's tie this road into an existing survey. So we're going to draw our center line, attach it to the road, right click, finish, and we've got some more tools. They're not presented down here because chances are you wouldn't use these that often. Let's go into Centerline extras and level this to surface. And now when we run the road across this, we might not want to mirror. We don't want any width, certainly. We don't want to show the left. When we hit OK, it's offering us a junction. We can edit that. Let's put 10 meters, 10 meters. And you can see with the contours, that's beautifully laid that and tied it in back into the existing road. So last thing I'm going to show you is interfacing. We want to bring this down. Let's hit the road we want to interface with the interface tools up here. It's giving you all information you want to edit for interfacing, but I'm just going to stick with the default. Click all roads, hit OK, and you can see even contoured as well. We don't have to show the contouring, but you can see it there. And let's go and make a change. Also, I'll just show you setting out. So if I put a setting out table here for the roads, I want to show whilst we make an edit, everything's going to update, and so is the setting out table as well. So if we bring the setting out tools, let's create a table close to where we're going to hit the road we want the setting out table to be. Got all the information we may need. We can add, remove things. Let's just add in a setting out table here. And you can see it's got all the live information about that road that we can then go and send off to get the road made. I'm going to make an edit using the move tool. I'm going to add in a point. Let's add in a point. Watch the interfacing. Just going to bring it up a bit. Interfacing is updated. Roads updated. We've got low points identified. Valuable information. We can go and print this off. And that's mainly what I want to show you. Yeah.
One other question, Dan. Could you add houses onto the model?
Houses. Yeah. Okay, so I guess many of you may have seen the houses option. Let's just quickly show you how I'd add in a house. It's very easy. Same tools again to create the houses. Many architects will have housing styles. You can set these up as templates. Let me just show you a template we've set up. So I'll go into the housing option. And again, logical order from making a house. You've got from left to right. Let's hit place house. It gives us the templates. Let's go with present view, but we've got ones. We can add as many as we want. Select. And we can just quite easily, with little effort, just plonk them down onto our surface. You can add as many as you want, of course. And then, of course, you want to go in there and rotate that. Now, watch what happens now to that front path. It will automatically put a path from the footpath to the footway of the road instantly. Now, that's a hugely powerful feature. So if I just show you that as a section, just put a section through this using the sectioning tools that we've shown you before. Right click, show section. I'll just, again, very professionally outlaid information that's automatically updated. You can see that road, the road here, and then you can see the white of the first floor level, and then that red line there is the footway. It's quite steep. That might want to be a stairs. That won't want to be stairs, but you can see that in there, and all's clear to see. So whilst that's pretty much what I want to show you, if you think back to when I asked you to think about how you would make these changes in your own, make the edits, even design as fast as this, try and think about, or just try and imagine what you would do with the extra time you have. So, because you'll be able to do so much more work in the same time, and also your company, as a business, would be a lot more competitive because you can churn through so much more work, or spend a lot more time iterating and focusing on the design aspects of a project rather than battling with software. Also, if we look at training, you can bring in people that and focus on civil engineering and good civil engineering practice as opposed to battling with complex software. So that's my bit done. I'm going to pass you to Pete. Thank you very much. And he's going to show you some drainage and some earthworks and perhaps cut and fill as well.
Lovely job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Great. Let's have a look at Dan's design here. So the first thing I'd like to do is really take a look at the cut and fill, as Dan mentioned. So if I click on the road option at the top here, and then come down to volumes, what this is doing now is telling me what the cut and fill is on a road by road basis with an overall volume at the bottom here. So you can see, well, nice job, Dan. So cut 1632 cube, fill 1750 cube, which I'm sorry to say I'm just about to wreck, because I'd like to show you some of the earthwork tools and also the interaction with the drainage. So yeah, nice job, Dan. Now I'm going to spoil it for you. Sorry, man. Okay, so what I'll do, let me show you how quickly and easily we can identify drainage runs, which we could then export off into MicroDrainage to create a design and then import back into XPSITE3D. So there's a drainage tool option here on the top toolbar. We can design stormwater and foul water layouts, and I'm going to go with the stormwater and create a new drainage run. So all I need to do is left click at the top of the road here. Notice again as I pull out, you've got the length of the pipe, so you may have limitations in terms of 90 meters or 100 meters for jetting purposes or whatever. So I'm just clicking down the highway, coming down the road, round the bend, and I might just want to come across into this space here, and then right click and quit. Now, if I zoom back in, I can add in branch lines, but I notice here that I've managed to miss adding in an additional manhole where there will be a junction with the branch line and the main run, but not a drama. I could do one of two things. I could either move the manhole back into the junction, or I could insert an additional manhole. So if I click on add manhole, it's just going to, I just need to left click on the line. Where I left click is where the new manhole's been inserted. I can drag and move that around to my heart's content. I'm happy for it to be located there. So left click, I've now sited the new manhole. And I can now add in my run for road number 7 coming down into that manhole that I've just inserted. So left click, right click, quit the command. So what the program's doing is picking up the coordinates. We know the length of the highway. What I would do is I'd export this across into MicroDrainage and then carry out the design. I'll show you that in 1 second. Before I do that, how about we add in like a pond feature or something like that? So to show you the Earthworks tools, if I click on General Earthworks on the toolbar here, you can see that we can create landscape features, a new earthwork above the ground. That could be a bund, it could be a spoil heap, an embankment, whatever it is you need to define above the surface, or I could create a new pond below the ground. And again, we have our similar kind of toolbar that pops up, familiar toolbar, so I can create a new earthwork line. And from here, where the pipe is going to sort of discharge into the pond, I could just define something. This is really showing you why I came from a civil engineering background and not from a landscape architect background, because we don't typically make ponds that way in such shapes. But what we could do is use the arc tool now that I've created the shape, and I can just round this off a little bit, make it look a little bit more like a kidney shaped pond. So if I just run around here just to create this. Now this is the extent of the pond. Now is this the higher level or the lower level? What I can do is I can create a parallel, an offset. So if I create a parallel and then click on the line here, I could then, let's make this a little bit larger, for example. So now I've got 2 areas that I can now reset the levels for. So let me set the level for the outer. If I click on the outer, it looks like we're 32.7 meters above datum. So I will put in a figure there of 32.5 for the upper level. I will then make the pond, say, a meter deep. So I'll go 31.5 for the lower level. So let me click on the lower level and go 31.5 and say OK. And I can even set a water level at maybe 32 meters. So if I go to the properties here, the properties of the pond, I can set the water level, the top water level, to 32 meters. And instantly you can see that the program's now calculated the volume of water within the storage pond. Okay, so we would typically do a storage estimate within MicroDrainage, find out what kind of volumes we need, introduce the volume within the model, and the balance would be what we need in the balancing pond at the end. Before I export, by the way, I'd need to just notify the program where the outfall point is. So if I go back to my drainage tools, just so the program can orientate itself, which is the upstream, which is the downstream. And I can go to the manhole properties. So if I run along here, you can see that we can create new runs, we can move the manholes around, or add new manholes, move new manholes, delete, etc. Delete manholes, delete the pipes or conduits, and we can look at the manhole properties. So here, I could set this up as an outfall, but actually I might want to set this up as a head wall. So there's a head wall on the end of the pipe entering into the pond. So let's say OK to that, OK to that, and I just want to move that a little bit across to there, say. And then I want to show that over in the 3D view. So if I display the 3D view on the other side, and what I want to do now is just take off the topography and then show the pond under the ground. So that one I can go on here and switch that off. So there's a little toggle here, display the survey surface. So we're now having a sort of transparency, if you like. So now you can see my pond with the pipe network. There we are. And the head wall of the pipe, at the end of the pipe, entering into the pond. So all I need to do now is go to my file drop down, and I can then save as the drainage system in either an MDX, which would be the ideal format, the latest format with MicroDrainage. You could save it as a SWS for the stormwater or an FWS for the foul water. And then I would read that across into MicroDrainage. So what I would do in MicroDrainage is go to the network, the site drop down and the network manager, and I would import that MDX file through the network manager. And what I've done here, I've already loaded in the surface, so we can exchange the surface data, the CAD data, etc. So that would be my ideal, to work with DrawNet and bring in the CAD drawing so that I can totally orientate myself relevant to the site. We set up the design criteria, say OK, and then all we have to do is really hit the magic optimize button, and then we've got ourselves a design drainage network. So the pipes that would have been coming across from XPSITE3D would all be at 150 diameter, and they've all been designed to take the appropriate flow based on the areas that are contributing at each manhole location. So what have I done here? If I look on the plan view, notice that I haven't switched DrawNet on. I'm working with System 1. So if you don't use DrawNet on the plan view, you will see the pipe network. So this is my completed pipe network, the blue Peter that I did earlier. And then we have a series of these green squares. So it looks like there are a few holes in here. It doesn't give me anything more than an indication of where there are contributing areas getting into the network. Now, if I'm working for a consulting engineer, I would like to know that I've covered everything and there are no gaps in the information. So what I could do is I could switch on DrawNet. So I go to the module selector. If I switch on the DrawNet function, this is where we can bring in the CAD drawing. So I've loaded in the CAD drawing through this function here. Same CAD drawing that Dan used and imported. I've loaded in the surface data. So all the surface data is known. And here you can see, I hope you can see this on your screens, there's a lot of green area. If I click on the green, you'll see these are the sub-catchment areas entering into different manholes. But just stepping back from this at a glance, you can see that all these areas are covered, but there's a blank. So in other words, I've missed something. I could even switch off the CAD drawing, and you can see that there's an area missing there. So it's helping us with our QA processes to enable us to identify that there's any error within our design or not. We've missed out any kind of cul-de-sacs or areas from the project. So having designed the drainage network, yes, we could simulate, test, add in flow controls, etc. And then I could go to the save function and then back into XPSITE3D. And if I go back into XPSITE3D, I would then go to File and Import. And I would import the drainage in the MDX format. Would make sense to me because we could bring in the storm and the foul water. I could create the storm water and the foul water on the plan here in XPSITE3D, design them both in the project file in MicroDrainage, and then bring them back into XPSITE3D. And that's what I've done. So this is why it looks a little bit different, because it's my blue Peter. Here's what I've done earlier. You have all the drainage network with all the areas contributing, coming down through the estate and outfalling there. You can see that I've set this up. If I look at the manhole properties, if I click on that manhole there, I've set that up as an outfall. I don't have it feeding into the pond. Because typically what we're having to do nowadays is design the drainage network, we put in a flow restriction, add in attenuation or infiltration under the ground for a particular event, and then we need to put in potentially long-term storage. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm adding in my pond into the model so that I can then add in an overflow and then create this offline storage facility for the long-term storage. What else will we need to do? Dan's already showed you the setting out information for the highway. So what about the setting out information for the drainage? So let me show you from the drainage drop-down tool here. I could create the manhole schedule. When I say create, I can click and locate. It's as easy as that. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see that we have all the different chamber ring sizes, cover levels, invert levels, type of chamber, and the coordinates, all relevant for the setting out information for the contractor on site. If I go to the file and print option, print or plot, I've got this set to a scale of 1 to 2500. So you could plot the whole drawing off, or I could fit to the page. And again, in the browser, oops, we'll just cancel on that. If I zoom in a little bit, if I zoom in and I can orientate, if I set that up in the browser here, I can then go across and then print that off in an A4 format if that's what you would prefer. And you have it on the drawings, or you have it in A4 format, whichever is your preferred choice. So that's the schedule sorted out, and also we have the drainage schedule, the manhole schedule and the drainage schedule. So I can populate that. The drainage schedule, great, because we have all the sizes of the pipes entering in, and the invert levels, and the chambering size, and the cover level. So we've got all the data and the gradients on the various pipes going in and out of the manholes, all covered. I suppose I better fess up and take a look at the volumes and see what I've done to Dan's beautiful cut and fill balance. Major drum roll here. If we look at the volumes, sorry Dan, I've now added in an awful lot of cut. So that's to create the pond. That's the fill of, the cut and excavation of the pond itself. So nice job, Dan, and I've managed to wreck it for you. So just to finish off here, folks, I really hope you've enjoyed that time. I thought that was a great presentation, Dan. I really enjoyed it myself. Just how fast and how intuitive and how quick we can create things, we can edit them. It's absolutely a minimal learning curve. It'll take no time whatsoever. We haven't run an XPSITE3D training course right now. Got the wrong teeth in today. And the program itself is extremely competitive in terms of its price, and it will enable you to be even more competitive out in the marketplace, helping you to create better highway designs, compliant designs, effectively and efficiently. So without further ado, we'd just like to thank you for all of your questions and participation. Thank you, Dan, for a great presentation.
Thank you everyone for listening.
And look forward to catching up with you again soon. If there's any queries at all, you have our email addresses here. And if you would like to run the trial, or you would like a quotation, maybe go for uksales@xpsolutions.com, and the team here will be able to action those requests as quickly as possible for you. Have a great day.
Thank you.